we're gonna adjust to 0 lash and then go a quarter turn and lock everything down. Alright, so we are here with my dad's car. You guys have seen this in a couple videos already. So what we're going to do today is pull the intake off the car, pull the valve covers off, and just check everything, and I'll show you the procedure that I use to adjust the valves. This is not going to be a step-by-step detailed video. Most of you guys know how to pull the intake off the car. I will tell you this, just be mindful of what you're doing. Don't break any lines. There's a lot of stuff going on back in here, so unplug what you can, take your time, and just take note of where everything goes. But it's pretty simple and straightforward process. I may do a time lapse for you guys, but like I said, we're not going to get super detailed. I do have some help though. But yeah, we're going to go ahead and get started, and I'll go through the process with you once we get the valve covers off. So got the intake off and got the valve cover off, and now Andrew is trying to pry his valve cover off too,
without scratching it up.
Yeah, we're gonna start adjusting the valves. So I'm trying to make it as simple as I can for the people watching. What we're gonna do is just make sure that we are on the base circle of the cam. So we're gonna do each, by itself. We're gonna do it individually. What we're gonna do is just focus on one rocker, make sure it's on the base circle, adjust it, and then move to the next. Now this takes longer. We're just gonna start over here. Spin the motor over, make sure it's on base, and work our way down. We're gonna adjust to 0 lash and then go a quarter turn and lock everything down. What Andrew's doing is just jumping the solenoid. So in case you guys don't know anything about this is how you go about it. We're actually good. We're on the base right here. So we're gonna go ahead and adjust this. Man, I know I'm good looking and all, Andrew.
I don't know about that last part.
Now, hold on now, Andrew. All right, so all you're gonna do is loosen your poly lock up and go ahead and loosen the inside also. Now, the way I do this is I come in behind and I twist. I know a lot of people are going to say you don't do it that way, but I do check for slack up and down also. So just to show you, you're trying to get your hands back here, your fingers back here, and rotate this push rod. So all you're going to do is slightly tighten down on the poly lock until you start to get some tension, which is 0 lash right there. And now all I'm going to do is come in a quarter of a turn. So you can see this is in the 6 o'clock position. So all we're going to do is come around to right here. At that point, just put your wrench back on, grab your internal lock, tighten it, and that's adjusted. Andrew is going to go ahead and bump the motor over again just to make sure we are on base over here. Go ahead. All right, we're on base. It's good. It's that simple. So that's how I like to do business. So we're going to use the same procedure on this as we did that and all the rest of them. I'm not going to video all this. I'm not going to do a time lapse. There's just really no point. That's going to just slow me down. You guys probably already know how to do this. If you don't, that's how I go about doing it. What we will do though is talk more about the car and the issues that we had with it, and hopefully all this that we're doing will fix it. But we'll see once we start putting everything back together. Okay, so we just adjusted all the valves. We did it the way that I talked about, which is go to 0 lash and then go a quarter of a turn and lock the poly locks down. So we're done now, but this is what I always like to do before I finish up. This just ensures that nothing's going to come loose and we're actually not really moving anything. Just put your wrench on it, give it a bump. And that just helps lock everything down. If it moves a millimeter or two, that's perfectly fine. Alright guys, I think we're going to wrap the video up today. This is as far as we're going to go. We ran into some problems, broke the valve cover gasket, so it tore in two, so we're not going to be able to use that today, and we're not going to be able to put this car back together today because we are waiting on injectors. So I don't think I told you guys, but we are going from 24-pound injectors to 30-pound injectors. My buddy Ray is hooking us up with the injectors that come out of his car, I'm going to get those from him tomorrow. I'll be putting those in, and we have to get some valve cover gaskets. Also, we're going to go ahead and replace the plugs and the wires on this car, because show you what we ran into, if I can find it. Yep, there it is. I don't know how this happened, but these are brand new Taylor wires.
Put a set of Ford racing.
Yeah. Yeah, we're just gonna put a set of Ford racing wires on the car. They're fine. They're good for what we're gonna do. And plugs are pretty cheap for the most part. And I run NGK. You can run whatever you'd like, but I do not like running these plugs with the small electrodes. So we're just gonna go back to the standard NGK plugs. But always just, you know, if you're gonna be pulling your plugs out and doing anything, if you're having issues, see, this car had been skipping. So it had a pretty bad skip, had like a dead miss to it. So the deal was we were gonna pull it apart and adjust the valves on it, which we did. And you know what though, we could have a cracked plug, and they're really hard to tell sometimes if they're cracked. So you know what, they're cheap enough. We'll just go ahead and replace these. So we're gonna replace those. We're gonna buy a set of motorsport wires, going to put valve cover gaskets on the car, and 30-pound injectors. So hopefully in the next few days or so, I'll have this put back together and we'll see what this car does. So I wanted to come in real quick and clear the air on what I was saying. I made it sound like the fact that the valves were just a little out of adjustment, that it was causing a dead skip or a dead miss in the car, and that is typically not the case. It was a contributing factor, I do believe. My dad told me before that he thought the valves may be out of adjustment. I really didn't hear any noise or anything with the valves, but you know, we could have had a valve too tight. So the best thing to do in this situation was to go back and readjust all the valves. We do think that it was an injector issue. The injectors that he had in the car were really old. I think they were in my car back in the late 90s or so, and he ended up with them. So it was just time for new injectors. So that's actually what we're doing. We're just doing overall maintenance on the car. We're going in, adjusting the valves because that needs to be done. We're going to put new injectors in the car, and we're going to put new plugs and wires. So hopefully that will address whatever the skip was that we had in the car. And the harness that you'll see me cleaning in the video is the injector harness, what we call the salt and pepper shakers, where they connect. It's important to clean those connections, because if they're not clean, there's a good chance that you won't get a good connection to one of your injectors, and you can cause issues there. So that's why it's very important, if you have these things apart, to go ahead and clean them. I've always used brake cleaner. I've never had any issue with that. By all means, use whatever you're comfortable with using, but I just wanted to clear the air for you guys. If I can get the skip out of this car, I've been given the okay to basically buy any and everything that we need for the interior. You know, we're still going to keep somewhat of a budget, so don't misunderstand. But probably new carpet, new dye for everything so that I can re-dye everything, new set of floor mats, shifter boot, just whatever else the car needs. I've not really went through it yet, but we're going to really make this thing look nice. Now, I know in the video, the car probably looks pretty good, but just wait till we get done. All right, so one last thing I want to go over. Since we have everything off the car and we have everything out, I just went ahead and pulled apart these salt and pepper shakers. So for those of you that didn't know, these are the salt and pepper shakers. For obvious reasons, one looks like salt, one looks like pepper, right? But they get really dirty every time, they get corroded, and this is absolutely the case with this one. So first, I've actually already done this and forgot to video it, but all I do is I use brake cleaner. If you got a wire brush, just come in and just clean everything up, spray it again, get all the gunk out. All right, so this is probably not going to show up good on camera, but as you can see, I've already spread some of these terminals apart. This is pretty common, and I recommend that everybody do this. You're gonna have to, it's gonna require something really sharp and small, and you're just gonna come in at the very tip of these and push and twist until you spread these terminals apart a little bit. Just like that. You don't want to go too much, but you can come back in and squeeze them back together if you go too far. So once again, just find the tip there, push, and there you go. See how those are spread apart and those aren't. Anyway guys, I just want to give you that little tip. This is I'm just driving this down through there and twisting it, and it's getting all that, breaking up that corrosion. And then you can just come in with whatever cleaner you have, spray it, dump it out, let it all dry up. And before you put everything together, remember to put some dielectric grease on everything. That just helps with the connections and helps with the corrosion. All right, guys, that was my last tip for the day. I hope that helps. Oh, just a quick update on Andrew's car. I know you guys haven't seen it in a while, but he has done some suspension work to the car. Car's working pretty good. He's pleased with it. Yeah, hopefully. So hopefully before too long, we'll have some more video footage of his car, and we better get it now while we can, and we better enjoy it because big things are a-coming for his car. And with that being said, thanks for watching.